Good day, Junior Tickies. I'm Mrs. Brimacombe. We're going to look now at Chapter 2, Source Documents, the third activity. Gerald Nell is the owner of Evergreen Garden Services, who renders gardening services. So here's the services that's offered by Gerald. And then they said his business is located at 12 Donald Road, Pretoria, and his contact details. And then he created a web page so that customers can find him. So there's always a reason why they provide you with the information. So if you look at what is required, first question, use the table on your answer book to identify the following: the correct account names applicable to each transaction and the source document in each transaction. Question 3.2, refer to transaction 2. Garden Supplies issued Evergreen Services with a cash invoice on 15 April 2024. Use the information to complete the cash invoice received by Garden Suppliers. So we need to look from their perspective. They issued us with a cash invoice, and how would we enter that transaction? The third question, refer to transaction number 4. Complete the receipt issued to True Harper. Question 3.4. Refer to transaction number 5. Complete the cash invoice to Ronald Preston. And then the fifth question, indicate the influence that transactions will have on the accounting equation. The business has a favorable bank balance. So this activity is focusing on different types of source documents, identifying which accounts is involved when you're looking at a transaction. So we're going to start with the first question. Gerald invested $300,000 into the business as part of his contribution towards the business. The money was transferred from his personal account into the business account. So I need to identify now, but which two accounts is involved. If the business receives money, it will always be bank. Why did the business receive money? Because of capital. And the source document applicable to this would be bank statement. Then the second transaction says bought the following items from Garden Suppliers. So if I look at the list of items of all the things that was bought, this will be listed all as equipment. And because we've bought this, bank is involved. And what did we purchase? Equipment. The source document would be electronic fund transfer. The third transaction bought a trailer from TR Trailers for $45,000 and made a direct transfer. Again, when we make a payment, bank will always be involved. What did we purchase? We're not going to show it as a trailer. This will form part of our vehicles, which is a non-current asset. And the source document, electronic fund transfer, EFT. The fourth transaction says, part of the building is rented out to True Harper. Received $2,500 on 27 April 2024 for the rent for May, issued receipt 36. This means that the business received money. If the business receives money, bank is involved. Why did we receive money? Because of rent income. And the source document is duplicate receipt. The fifth transaction issued a cash invoice to Ronald Preston for the following services rendered on 28th of April 2024. So the business rendered services. Our main income from services rendered will be fee income, or you can use current income. That money would have been paid into our bank account, and that's why bank is involved. And my source document will be cash invoice. The next question asks of you, refer now to transaction number 2. Reminder, this is now from their perspective. We've purchased all of these items from Garden Suppliers, and that is called our equipment. And they would have issued us with a cash invoice that lists all the items that was purchased and what is the total amount that we paid them. So that's what we're going to practice now by looking at how do we complete a cash invoice. So we start with, remember, there's a reason why they gave you the details. They said our business name is Garden Evergreen Services. The business is located at 12 Donald Road, Pretoria. So when we look at the bill 2, that bill 2 will be Evergreen Garden Services. The address, 12 Donald Road, Pretoria. Contact details. The invoice date is on the 15th of April 2024 and the due date is on the 15th of April 2024 because this is a cash invoice. And now we're going to look at what items was purchased. And then we list, we've purchased 2 industrial lawn mowers and the unit price was 8,000 each. So the total, 8,000 times 2 equals 16,000. Then we've purchased brush cutters. How many items? So we list the quantity, the price per item, and then we have to calculate, but what is the total of those 3 items? So we take the unit price times the quantity. Then we've purchased leaf blower, 2 items at 600 each. 2 times 600 equals 1,200. We've purchased 2 power brush cleaners at 4,300 each times 2 means in total it was 8,600 for those 2. Then we've purchased spades. How many? 3 of them at 250 each, which gives you a total of 750. And the last items that we've purchased was 3 wheelbarrows at 300 Rand each, that equals 900. So then we have to do the next step is by calculating, but what is the total? So that equals 39,000. Now what I've integrated into this activity is VAT. Every business, when you are registered as a VAT vendor, a VAT business, you have to pay a percentage over to South African Revenue Services. That percentage is 15%. So this means that we didn't only pay 39,000, we have to now calculate the VAT amount. And to calculate the VAT amount, we're going to take 39,000 times 15%, 15 divided by 100. So on top of that 39,000, we have to pay 5,850 for VAT, value added tax. So the total amount that we had to pay was 44,850. That is what we would say, including VAT. The next transaction says refer to transaction number 4. Part of the building is rented out to True Harbour. Received 2,500 on 27th of April 2024 for the rent for May. Issued receipt number 36. So when we fill in now this receipt, it means we start with number 1, the document number. So they said to us the document number is number 36. From who did we receive the money? From True Harbour. How much or for what reason? This was for rent income. How much did we receive? And now we need to write out the amount in words, and we're going to write it out, the figure 2,500. This was received by Gerald Nell, who's the owner of the business. On which date did this happen? It happened on the 27th of April 2024. Transaction number 5, question number 3.4. Issued a cash invoice number 15 to Ronald Preston for the following services rendered on 28th of April 2024. So now that's why you would see the cash invoice looks different from before, because now we have issued Evergreen Garden Services has issued this to the customer, Ronald Preston. And now we're going to list, but what was the services that we've rendered? So we start off with the bill is made out to Ronald Preston. I don't have the contact or the address of this person, but I do know the invoice date was on the 28th of April 2024. Now I'm going to start with the description by listing the services that was done. The unit price was $260, so the subtotal $260. Then we had lawn edge and trimming that was done at a cost of $200, so the total equals $200. And then flower bed weeding and raking, one quantity, 100 Rand, unit price, so the total is 100. So next step, add 260 plus 200 plus 100. This is 560 Rand excluding VAT. Remember, we've integrated VAT into these activities. To calculate the VAT amount, we're going to say 560 times 15%. That equals 84 Rand that must be added to that 560. So the total that Ronald Preston needs to pay us is 644. This is including the VAT amount. So make sure that you understand percentage VAT, how to calculate it. VAT stands for value added tax. Now the next part of these questions, what is required is to complete the accounting equation to show how would each one of these transactions, how would that influence the accounting equation. So we start again with the first transaction. Gerald invested 300,000 into the business as part of his contribution towards the business. This means that there's two accounts involved. We've identified bank and capital. Bank is classified as an asset, which means my assets will increase if the business receives money. We have a favorable bank balance. Why did our bank balance increase? Because of capital. That will have a positive effect on the owner's equity. So now we can complete this on the table by starting with the number, account debit, bank, credit, capital, assets plus 300,000, owner's equity plus 300,000. Nothing happened with your liabilities. The next transaction, bought the following items from garden suppliers. Those items, we said, this is our equipment. It will form part of equipment, which means a payment was made. In total, how much should we pay? 44,850. So bank will be credited. Money goes out of our bank account. Double entry principle for every credit, there's a debit. You can also use equipment as a base to work from. If I buy more equipment, what's going to happen to your assets? Your assets is going to increase on the debit side. Every debit, there's a credit. And the next step is completing that on our table. Our assets will be plus, minus, nothing owner's equity, nothing liabilities. The third transaction, bought a trailer from RT Trailers for 45,000 and made a direct transfer. If I make a payment, it means there's two accounts involved. One, bank, which is classified as an asset, and vehicles, which is also classified as an asset. Remember, bank is a current asset and vehicles is a non-current asset. This means if I made a payment, my bank account is going to decrease, credit, assets minus. For every credit, there's a debit. On my accounting equation, we're going to say our vehicles was debited, account credited, bank, assets plus minus 45,000. Transaction number 4. Part of the building is rented out to True Harbour, received 2,500 for the rent for May. If the business receives money, it means bank is involved. Why did the business receive money? Because of rent income. Right. So now, when the business receives money, bank will always be debited. Because we have a favorable bank balance, our assets will increase. Our income will increase. Because our income increases, this will have a positive effect on the owner's equity. So once we've done with the T account, we can now just list it on the table by saying account debit, bank, account credit, rent income, assets plus 2,500, owner's equity plus 2,500. Transaction number 5. Issued a cash invoice to Ronald Preston for the following services rendered on 28th of April. So we've calculated the total amount that we need, or that Ronald needs to pay us, is 560, but this is excluding that. If we take that into consideration, the total amount is 644. So when we render a service, it means that the business is going to receive money. If the business receives money, then bank will always be involved. Why did the business receive money? Our main income from services rendered will always be shown as fee income or current income. The business receives money, bank is debited, fee income is credited. So on my accounting equation, assets will be plus, and because my income increases, it will have a positive effect on my owner's equity. Thank you very much. I want to leave you with this quote: success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Have a wonderful day.